Hey, it's Drybear. On the eve of the upcoming patch for the First Descendant, they had put out a patch today that's actually quite interesting for the game itself. Now, it's been no secret for a long time in the First Descendant that there has been a disparity in the availability and usage of weapons. I think there's obviously just been, over the course of launch since this last summer, we've seen a lot of different weapons come to rise and fall in their power, but something has stayed consistent throughout all of that, and that is the usage of the high power weapons. Pretty much for the most part, you really only use high power weapons if you're going to be running an infinite ammo Glay or a infinite restocking ammo Enzo, or you have one on your team, because most of the time it's very inconsistent and difficult to rely on having high power rounds available for you. Now, recently, about 3 weeks ago, I believe, they did increase the amount of high power rounds that you start a weapon or start a mission with. So you'll load in with more high power rounds than ever before. But this also prevents another problem that is, like, for the overall high power round usage, even if you were to generate a lot of high power rounds, the maximum was a bit of a problem as well. So this morning they increased the maximum capacity of high power rounds from 25 to 50. So they doubled by default the amount of high power rounds that you can have on your person, even without modules attached. And this, combined with the amount starting, is a good step. But I want to talk today about what is also preventing people from being able to use these high power rounds in many ways. They do mention that they also did buff the high power rounds conversion module to be much more efficient. So for changing general rounds into high power rounds, it's 200. Every 200 rounds of general into one high power is now every 50 to 1. Then they changed the special rounds conversion from 120 to 30 to 1, and they changed the impact rounds from 25 to 6 to 1, which means that the conversion rate is much higher. So you have maximum increase, you start with more at the beginning of a mission, and you also have a much better conversion rate on the modules themselves. However, there's one major problem that I hope that they fix, which would, to me, would help solve the problem completely with all these changes here. And that is, currently modules aren't active unless you have the weapon in your hand. And this has some positives to it for balancing concerns, but also has some negatives to it. And I think the biggest negative is that if you are running a rounds conversion module, you can only convert rounds you pick up if you're holding that weapon in your hand. And I think that creates a very large usability concern, because if you're going to be doing things where you're converting rounds into other rounds, you need to constantly be swapping to that weapon. And I think it would be a massive usability increase if you could be passively converting ammunition over into that. Now, obviously, there could be a flip side here where maybe you don't want to convert rounds, and so being able to turn it on and off by swapping the weapon might be useful. But at least for me, when I make a build where I'm doing rounds conversion, I usually will, since there are 4 types of rounds and you can only have 3 weapons equipped, I tend to just plan my build around that 4th type of round that I'm not using being the round type that I convert. So it'd be super nice if I could, say for example, run a general round primary, a special round secondary, and then a high power round as my 3rd, and that tertiary weapon will constantly be converting the unused round into the round type that it needs, which would make things a lot easier. So you could bring out your sniper rifle or your launcher or your shotgun for when you need it, and then you can go to your other weapon and use those, especially in very difficult, Void Abyss or Colossus fights. You're running around picking up all ammo that's available, and you're always being able to use that ammo, versus in the current state of the game, you're running over ammo, and that 4th ammo type only converts if you're switching over to that weapon. So you have to see that, okay, I'm converting all impact rounds into high power rounds. So when I see impact rounds on the ground, I have to stop what I'm doing, swap to the weapon that I'm converting on, run over the ammo with that weapon in my hand, then swap off of it to do it. So let me know what you guys think about this. I think this would make it a lot better. I am actually super stoked about the fact that they gave us more high power rounds at the start of a mission. They doubled the maximum capacity of rounds, and they made the conversion modules way more efficient, which I think is really really awesome, especially since these conversion round modules do not scale at all. When you level them up and upgrade them, they only change their capacity cost. They don't change their conversion rate. And so what you're doing with these is you're always converting the same amount. So by buffing this significantly, it gives us a very easy way to convert those rounds and makes it more viable for builds to use high power round weapons if your name isn't Glay or Enzo. However, this does mean that they had to nerf the maximum capacity module since they increased the maximum by default. So the high power rounds exclusive rounds conversion module, the one that gives you the maximum capacity, is nerfed from 16 to 6 at the high end and 12 to 2 at the low end. In this patch, they have also added the system tab to the chat box, and you can choose to display or hide the system messages in world, comment, and recruit tabs in options. This is just a very nice quality of life feature. You can then just start filtering out the has joined the mission, has left the mission, has joined the mission, has left the mission, has joined the mission, has left the mission, spamming your chat box and filling it up with nonsense. I still use it, honestly, to keep track of, you know, if I'm mastering a weapon or re-leveling a character. It tells you in the chat when it levels up, because it's hard. You don't see your weapon mastery on your screen anywhere. It's not shown anywhere on the screen. I feel like they should put it either in the top right with the mastery levels, or put it next to the weapon like Warframe does, so you can always see what your weapon mastery is, so you don't have to open your inventory to look at it. So the only way to do it right now is just to look at the system box and read the text message when it levels up. But now you can filter those things out if you really want to keep your chat box clean, which is a really nice change. They also you may not enter messages in the system tab. This just makes it a little bit more clear what you can and can't do, but I think it is a nice option to have. They also expanded the controller sensitivity setting from 100 to 200. There just wasn't enough of a range for people to be able to kind of delicately control what their controller sensitivity is. And in a shocking turn of events, I don't know why more PC games don't have this, but they changed the mouse sensitivity setting unit to 0.1. Either make it a large scale like 100 or 500 or something, or just give us decimals. I don't the fact that you can go over or under very easily in one unit segment is ridiculous. So going down to 0.1 is nice. And they also added the mouse vertical sensitivity setting option if you want to control how much you go up and down, left and right, that sort of thing. Again, more really nice and pointed usability options being added to the game. They also nerfed the week 5 challenge for the battle pass, where you have to do 25 invasions and you can only do 4 a day. So they lowered that from 25 to 10 to make it more reasonable. And I know a lot of people are gutting for the end of the battle pass supply shop, getting, the new Sharon skin and the Sharon hair in that. So that's a big thing for us to be able to get more of those supply coins. And the rest of the patch is just a whole bunch of really good bug fixes as well, which I think are, generally useful and good things to look at. I don't see anything that's like massive game breaking. They did fix some of the bundles in the shop not displaying their discount properly, and they also fixed some things going on with like gluttony and a few modules and stuff like that. But overall, I would say it's a good patch, and you can see that the developers are back in the full swing of things. There will be a live developer update tomorrow, like late tomorrow night, them going over the patch next week, Inez and all the new content, and also just answering questions and things like that. So I'll cover that once that goes live. And being able to have more high power rounds is a big option here, and let me know what you think about potentially even more changes for high power rounds, making those weapons more usable down below. If you found value in today's video, leave a like down below, leave a comment for the algorithm to help this video get seen by more people, and don't forget to check out my other channels for other content and other stuff and other things.